Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us today on Friday with Fran. I am Shelley Kino, your host, and you are joining me as I am traveling. So you will be seeing some stuff behind me. I'm not driving, my husband is driving, so we're all safe and good. Um, Today, Fran and I are going to talk about pulling the disability card. And this was Fran's idea because now that she is also someone who gets around differently and learns differently, this was something that she's been seeing in her life and some of the groups that she belongs to. And so we're just going to talk a little bit about that. I don't know if this will be a shortened Friday with Fran or not, or if we'll get a good conversation going. If you are joining us live, please comment if you have any questions or if you have anything that you want to add to our conversation. We would definitely love to have you be a part of that. I hope that you're all able to hear me well over the noise of the road. And bless you, my husband just sneezed. So Fran, what do
Yes.
you mean when you say pulling the disabled card?
Hmm. Well, I want to preface this with I'm not perfect and I have done it in the past. And I've become more aware of what a disabled card and I don't even know if that's the terminology I would prefer to use, but it's the only thing I can come up with at the time. Excuse me, sorry. But so often we want the best for our children. We want the best for the people for whom we're advocating.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we hyper emphasize, perhaps is the word, um, their inabilities, their abilities that are so different, the things they can't do, the disabilities they have, to try to get the services that we want them to be able to receive.
Right. And you
But
had
then there are other times we are like, my child's just like your child. Why are you focusing on what they can't do? Um, it doesn't. You can't. You can't play. But you can't play both sides, in my eyes. And that's what I mean by pulling the disabled card.
okay. And you told me in conversations that um, you feel like you're seeing that a lot. And one of the things that you had asked me about was um, people wanting to say during all of this remote learning that their children who have an IEP, an individualized education program, have lost a lot. They haven't gotten some of their related services or any of their related services.
Yes.
They haven't gotten all of the minutes that their IEP said they were supposed to have when school is in a building. And you had asked me if I thought that parents being up in arms about that um, and like wanting to sue the school and everything was kind of pulling the card like you talked about. And I kind of said yes and no, because at this time all students have lost a part of their
Hmm.
education.
Right.
um, some districts though have completely given nothing in the way of services or minutes to their special education population.
Right.
So if that's the case, if they have received service, if the general ed population has received services, but the special education population did not, then I don't see that as pulling the card or
Hmm.
bringing um, any extra attention upon themselves because they were due something in the spring,
Yes.
and they are also due something in the fall if the school districts are going into remote learning again. So um, so that was one example that you and I
Hmm.
had talked about. Now, if everybody had gotten the exact same services, and then the special education population was like, "No, I need more," then I might lean a little more to, okay, maybe you're, like you said, you're accentuating their disabilities instead of their abilities.
Right.
What other kind of settings have you felt this? Have you personally felt this with some of the things that you have gone through since having your strokes and concussions?
Yeah. When I receive help in my home,
Mm-hmm.
and when I was going through my assessments, I had to focus on my disabilities, and I struggled with that because I don't like to really focus on them in general because it just aggravates me and I get frustrated and I feel like a failure because I can't do because so I just don't focus on. I try not to focus on them.
Right.
Um, and so here I am having to focus on them, and I felt like I was pulling. I felt like I was personally pulling the disabled card so that I could get the services I needed.
Okay.
Does that make
And
sense?
I mean, I can see what you're saying, but I'm not sure that that's a bad thing. I mean, you needed the services. You needed to be honest and say, look, because of X, Y, and Z now, I can no longer do certain things that I used to be able to do. And so I need to admit and accept that there are some issues that I need to have addressed and I need to get help. Um,
And so then I guess how do you balance that though with I'm now doing a lot of things within my church and I'm wanting people to be able to see the abilities I have and that I can do the things that I'm doing and um, rather than focusing on that I'm in a wheelchair or I count differently or process things in a different form.
I think you just asked the $1,000,000 question. I think if any organization, if any person could figure out that balance, I feel like what you are asking is probably what a majority of parents ask. How do I get people to see what my child can do instead of focusing on the things that they struggle with or they're not as strong in? Um,
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, I don't know. Um, I mean, I guess it's like anything. You just need to focus on what needs to be focused on at that moment. And sometimes that's the weaker areas, and sometimes that's not.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you can do things now that you weren't able to do 6 months ago, then that's becoming a strength for you.
And my
So,
services have changed because I have I have improved.
right.
So,
And I think that's what we do, as educators and as providers and supporters of each other, is that we continue to help you grow. And as you
mhm.
grow, maybe you'll need different services, or maybe you'll just need less services. And again, I think that's okay. Um, Hang on one second. Oh, sorry, they're going into a restaurant. Open the. Sorry, you
It's
got an,
okay.
you got an extreme close up of me there. Um, they finally found a restaurant that they can go into, so
Hmm.
they're gonna. Hopefully, you won't hear the road noise anymore because we're not, and I'm not going to be bouncing around so much. So, um, but yeah, they needed to get their masks, and I switched places with my daughter. She was in the back of the van, and I was giving directions on where
Hmm.
we were going. And then when we went live, then we had to switch, and the restaurant isn't allowing dine-in service, so we just came back into the
uh,
car. Well, that's a
uh,
bummer for them. So yeah,
so, I'm gonna. It's okay. Were
yeah,
you
yeah.
still going? Go ahead.
Nope,
No, you're still going.
Well, I was just saying, just kind of reiterating, that
Yeah.
if you need the services, you need them, and what we need to focus on at that time is what we need to focus on. And as you grow, then we change and we alter. I mean, that's what an IEP does for a student in a school setting.
Right.
As they learn the skills that we have given them specially designed instruction to have, then they don't need certain services. A lot of kids will outgrow speech therapy. And so if they've outgrown it, then we take that off. And then, if we need to use those minutes for something else, or if they just are good to go back into the gen ed room with no services at all, then that's what they need.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Sorry, you froze for a second.
Am I breathing? Sorry.
Well, it's okay. Even as you were sharing that, I'm thinking of my daughter. And sometimes I feel like I have to pull that card, and so then is there a negative connotation with that? Even I have to focus on that because I don't focus on those things. That's not something I've ever really tried to focus on with my children. But to get their services,
right.
I know I have to. But I don't want to be pulling that all the time. When she can assimilate, when she can function socially where she is without accommodations, then why am I going to pull that card? And I guess maybe that's where my pet peeve is. Why are we pulling cards when we don't need them? You know that song, you got to know when to hold them?
Yeah.
You got to know when to pull them?
Songs.
It just came across my mind. It just, as I'm sitting there thinking about it, I'm like, I mean, I guess there are appropriate times. As you're sharing that with me, I'm seeing there are appropriate times, but the inappropriate times are maybe what I'm seeing, and what's kind of aggravated me, made me more aware of that card.
And I think what I'm hearing you say is, when you need it, and you're okay using whatever it is that you need. It's when you feel that maybe it's being abused somehow.
Yeah.
That somebody is using it when they really don't need it. And that would kind of be like it just came to me as you were talking a minute ago that the services that we were talking about before, would be like, if you have high blood pressure, you need medicine in some cases. Some people need medicine, and that's kind of an accommodation in a sense. And so as the person does something different, and they don't need as much medicine, then we withdraw some of that medicine. But if for some reason the doctor or the patient says, no, I need to increase my medicine, I think that's what you're saying is, like that would be unnecessary. If things are different and things are better, why are we increasing services, or why are we increasing amount of time when, at that point we should be pulling back a little bit? Does that kind of make sense? Does that sort of correlate with you like it does in my brain?
Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah, I'm yeah.
As far as people abusing the system, and I don't know, maybe it doesn't always come from the person with the disability. Maybe it's the system that allows things, or actually maybe in some cases requires, and I know that sounds weird, but they require the abuse in order to
get the
right, to keep what they have, or to keep the funding, or what, I don't know. Not that still makes it okay, not that makes it okay, but I don't know, it's probably a systemic problem that definitely should be looked at, but I don't know how to make it better or fix it.
And as you're sharing this, I'm seeing even it's a societal problem.
Mm-hmm.
It occurs cross populations
Mm-hmm.
in different areas.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we can't fix all of society,
Nope.
but how can we make sure that we're not making it harder for everybody by misusing it?
I don't know. If I did, I would probably be an extremely wealthy person. Because again, I think that's one of
Mm-hmm.
those questions where I think that's a heart issue. I think a lot of issues that we face today are heart issues. I don't know that legislation or group pressure can change someone's thinking. I think it has to be something that somehow their heart changes for some reason. Um,
Mm-hmm. I
or,
mean, because
or
you see on social media when um, someone will say something, and if it goes against the norm, the
right.
comments underneath it are very um, not always pleasant.
Yep. Uh-oh. Now
I
you've
lost. Oh,
frozen
there
on
you
me.
are.
That probably means I froze. Okay.
There you are. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I've definitely been a kind of direct approach person where if I see something that I think is wrong, I have said stuff in the past, and that usually doesn't go over very well, because people don't like to be told that that they're doing something wrong. It doesn't matter who the person is that you're
Mm-hmm.
saying it. Um, I, I, somehow finding a gentle approach of Um, I don't know that I would be able to do, not even be able to do, because that'll put them on the defensive right away. But just maybe having a conversation with the person and asking them why they're doing what they're doing. Because I think it has to be a one-to-one thing. I don't think people's minds are going to change because a group of people tell them they have to change. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so if somebody is misusing whatever system, maybe they're not even aware that they're misusing it. Maybe that's just what they've gotten used to or what's been presented to them as the way to do something.
Okay.
And so maybe just having, and conversations like this where you're actually talking to the person, but
Mm-hmm.
talking to them through social media or a text or an email where they're not hearing your heart and they're just reading it with their inflection into it is definitely not going to work. So it needs to be something like this where, you're not face to face, but kind of face to face.
And unfortunately, even sorry, the we're baking banana bread today.
Oh,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, I had a lot.
sure.
Someone gave me a
Hundreds
lot
of
of bananas.
miles away, you make that.
Someone gave me a lot of bananas, so I'm making a bunch of banana bread with agave, so my son
Ooh,
can have it since I don't
nice.
give him sugar.
Right.
But oh, sorry, I really went off. I have no idea now where we were.
Talking about
Oh
those
yeah, okay, I know.
conversations.
Well, I think okay, we are. I'm not. I refuse to think of this as a new normal. We are in a different season.
Yeah.
Is where we are. We're just in a different season of some form or fashion. And who knows where the season's going. It feels kind of like a mix of hurricane, avalanche, tornado, tsunami, all thrown together. And you're not even sure, like normally where you would have a hurricane, you are now having avalanches. It's that kind of extreme. So to me, this season, there's so much potential for good, though. I know that sounds kind of weird, but
No.
stick with me for just a second because we have the potential to start over, to do something better, to recreate something and make it work right. We have the potential to still communicate as we're doing now. Pick up a phone, talk to somebody. Don't just send them a text. Don't send an email.
Right.
Like even when you write letters, though, you can see in the slants of go old fashioned, but we have that time. So how often have we always said, uh, man, if I had time? Well, we're stuck in our homes a lot of times. We have time. So what's our excuse now?
Yeah.
I know my excuse sometimes is I'm just tired. I'm like, why am I tired? I haven't done anything. And that's not a good excuse anymore, Fran. You got to come up with a new one.
But not doing anything can make you tired. I mean, you think about if you're sitting visiting a friend in the hospital all day, how much more tired you are than if you have like worked in your garden all day.
It's a different kind of tired. You're right.
Yeah.
Physical versus mental, emotional.
Yeah. And I
Okay.
sometimes think the mental emotional tired is harder to get beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
our bodies were more made to do that sort of thing and work that hard, but our brains typically aren't used to that. And it's just, I mean, they're already working hard, and then you add all these other things into it. And I think that just is why it's, for me at least, it's harder to get beyond when I'm mentally exhausted than when I'm physically exhausted. Like I've been trying to do these 5K walks every day or every other day, and I can recover from that pretty quickly. But if and that's hard for me. It's not easy. I'm trying to jog and get faster at my jogging and get the whole process done faster. But if I, like I said, if I was to, well, I had to do this recently with my mom. She had a medical outpatient procedure, and I was exhausted, and it was not much longer than the amount of time it takes to do my 5K stuff. So I don't know. Like I said, for me, it just takes longer, I think, to get over that mental stuff.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know how to, I don't know how to fix, I don't know how to fix society.
Right. I don't know. And so I don't want it to be so. I don't want to focus totally on the negative either. I want to come up with it. Okay, where's the hope? Where's the solution? What can we do now? Okay, we're aware of it. So what are we gonna do? And I'm just trying to think. Because I've watched as I'm in a few of these groups and just talking to various people. I mean, we have the communities that with people that have extra needs and extra need extra supports. A lot of it is health, and there is a fear. There's a supreme fear there. And then how do you balance that with, you have teachers that have health issues or they have someone loved one, and how do we get people who have students that don't need the extra help, the extra accommodations? How do we get them to understand, okay, you still are going to be remote learning, but we're going to bring in these students who need that extra attention? It's not easy. I pray for the administrators. I pray for the people that have to make all these decisions, because you're going to be questioned and there's going to be fault found no matter what they decide.
Right. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you there. The thing that keeps coming to mind is communication, honest, raw communication, and listening as well as hearing what's being said. Those really are two different things, because I can hear a lot of words, and I can listen to a lot of words, but if I'm not doing both, because one of them is more of an action, or the other one of them is more passive, and I always forget which is which, but I know there's
if you hear something and if you listen to something.
Yeah. So, actually trying to hear the other person's heart, and actually trying to share your heart without judgment of what you just heard from the other person, and being uncomfortable in the conversation, and letting your feelings be known of, well, I do this because whatever the reasons are. I'm scared, but I'm still going to go ahead and do this because it needs to be done. Or I'm scared and I can't do this. You know, like you said, the family sending their children to school thinking that there's going to be a major health risk for them, or the teachers for whatever varying reasons that they would have as well for not wanting to go back into the classrooms, and just letting people be themselves and not judging them for, oh, you're wearing a mask, oh, you're not wearing a mask, or oh, you're sending your kids to school, oh, you're going to homeschool. It is what it is, and nobody, I feel right now, is coming to these decisions lightly. I think everyone, whether they're sending their kids or not sending their kids, whether they're going back to teaching or not going back to teaching, has just on a whim decided whatever it was. And I think we have to remember that and honor and respect that those people went through a process.
Respect.
Yeah.
That is a key word, I think, in life. Because just a bit ago, you just had said, I've already lost it. I should have written it down. But you had said something about, I don't know. Maybe I'll remember it. But
I don't know. I've said a lot of things.
Yeah, you have. Oh, you were talking about how, we have the decisions and what that person makes, and honor what they decide and respect. And we're just talking about neurotypical people trying to respect that. And how much harder is it to respect the people who have extra needs?
Right.
We have a hard enough time in society respecting each other, let alone those that are even more different. So, I mean, it can be so depressing when you look at it that way. But I lately, for me, I think I've just been trying to focus on what can I do in my little part of the world? What can I do with those with whom I encounter, those with whom I interact, whether it's through text, a phone call, a smile. And that's the hard part when you're wearing a mask and you're trying to smile. It's like you're smiling and they're looking at you, you're like, oh yeah, I have a mask on, I'm sorry. Right. And so sometimes they'll say, I'm smiling at you. And then they look at you really weird. But I'm just like, how are you doing? So then I'm realizing, okay, so I can no longer rely on a smile. I have to use my words. And sometimes that's like stepping out on a limb. You're like, I don't know how the person's going to respond. But I found a lot of times they'll respond back in I'm doing okay, or I'm having a really rough day.
Yeah.
And you're able then to just let them know you heard them. You heard what they said, and respond back and say, I'm sorry you're having a rough day. I hope it gets better. And sometimes, or someone says that to me, that's just all I need in the moment. I don't need you to sit down and have a long conversation with me. I'm not asking some straight, but just knowing someone, even a stranger, asks and then cares. Excuse me, even pre-COVID, so many times, how often would you walk by somebody and say, hey, how are you? But then keep walking.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it always blows me away. I'm like, oh, you really didn't care. You were just saying it because that's what you said.
Yeah.
So if you're going to say, how are you, be prepared to stop.
Right. I have often found myself saying, no, I'm really serious. I want to know how you are. Because we have, as a society, you're right. We have gotten so used to, hi, how you doing? It rolls off the tongue, and we're not even aware that we've actually asked a question. And questions, when heard, make the brain want to give a response. So if somebody does actually answer, then we're like, oh, and then we're also just expecting without realizing it for the person to say, oh, I'm good, how are you? And it's just a quick transaction and off we go.
Or yeah, people will respond, oh, that's good, I am too. And you're like, I didn't say anything, or I said I'm having a horrible day today. How is that good? Really? How is that good?
Well, and it's like when you go somewhere and you make a purchase and, the cashier says, thank you, come again, or thank you, have a nice day, or you kind of have prepared a response in your head because of all your other typical interactions. And so, they may say to you, enjoy that sandwich, because you just purchased a sandwich, and you're like, thanks, you too, and it doesn't make any sense. And then you're like,
yeah, enjoy the
oh, wait,
sandwich.
they don't have a sandwich. And because it's what our brain is used to doing. And it takes a minute for us
and we didn't listen.
Yeah, it takes for us to stop our brain and go, wait, what just happened? That wasn't what I thought was going to happen. So yeah, it's all kinds of little things like that, where we get out of our own bubble. And we do, I did that to someone at the post office the other day, had my mask on, and I was smiling at them. And then I started chuckling. And then I was like, oh, I should probably tell this person why I'm laughing, because it's just her and I in the post office. And the post office that I go to, I have a P.O. box. So there's an outer office where all the P.O. boxes are. And then there's the inner office. Well, we were in the outer part where nothing is happening. And so I was like, oh, I smiled at you. And then I laughed because I realized you couldn't. And then, so that started a little conversation, and it was nice. But yeah, I mean, typically, like you said, you smile at somebody and they have no idea now that you're smiling at them. So, oh, you're going to see my husband because he's opening the back. Did they let you check in? Oh, nice. Okay. So
are you right here? Hello.
You see, I don't know who could all see that, but
are
yeah,
you at your destination?
We got to the hotel, and I wasn't sure they were going to let them check in without me because I was the one that made the reservation. So I'm glad to hear that they were able to get checked in, and it's a very nice looking hotel, at least on the outside. So hopefully the rooms are really nice. And I think we're the only ones here. There's 2 other cars in the parking lot. So, that just shows the kind of world that we're in, because normally in this area where we are in Michigan, this hotel's parking lot would be full.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you arrived at your destination. Well,
yep, thanks. Yeah. So if my mom is watching, and she's always worried about when I'm going somewhere that I get there safely, I'm here.
Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, as far as, I think we can, like my saying for my business, I'm changing the world, making it better for all, one IEP at a time. And I think that's it kind of comes down to what we're talking about too, is, you take care of you. Hi, Alex. And you make sure that you're not abusing the system, and that people that you interact with, you're listening to what they're telling you and what they're asking you. And we just, we're such an instant society now that we don't want to just do it one person at a time. We want to just change the whole system for everybody all at once. And so I think we also need to learn patience, because if through this one person is changed, and then that person goes out and through all of their interactions changes one person, and it's that ripple effect. And I know it sounds corny and it's so cliche, but it really is true, that if we can touch and change one person, then hopefully they will touch. It's like the pay it forward stuff that happens.
Random acts of kindness.
You pay for someone behind you in the drive-through, and then that person pays for someone. Sometimes you get a nice long chain going. Sometimes it's just you've taken care of the person behind you, and you've blessed that person, and they can't bless anybody at that moment, but maybe later they will.
Or it'll
or it just changes
something within them.
Yep.
I just wrote down so I wouldn't forget this time.
Okay.
I just, I was just thinking as you were sharing respect. We've spoken on respect and we've spoken on patience.
Mm-hmm. Two things that a
And
lot of people don't have anymore.
I don't have it often. The patience part, that's a work in progress. I feel like I need one of those really, really large orange signs that says entering construction zone. Or maybe I need, like on the interstate, how it'll give you a warning like so many miles ahead.
Oh, I can't tell you
And
how many I've seen in the last 2 days traveling up here.
yeah, and it'll say so many. Yeah, well, yeah, mine needs to. You need lots of warnings because when you hit it, bam, you're gonna. It's like it's like oh, what's it? Oh, I always mess this word up in English. It's a Stau in German.
Explosion?
Traffic jam.
Traffic jam. Okay.
Sorry, it
That's
always
okay.
comes in
It took
German
German a
prior
long time
to
ago.
English to me, and maybe it's because it's a shorter word, and so I've chosen to stick with it.
Maybe.
I don't know, but okay. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I want people to have hope though. I don't want this to be. Uh, yeah, we started off on the disabled card, and as I'm watching parents struggle, and I'm watching administrators, and I'm watching educators I'm really focused on the schooling part right now. It just, even in the microcosm of the people around me, I'm just watching it, and I want people just to respect each other, to have that patience for each other. And if we could just build each other up through this, not putting the negative experiences on social media. Right. Can you believe what they made my child do in class today? Can you believe what this child did in my class today? Can you believe what the parents are calling me and doing? If we could instead say, hey, this student encouraged another student when they were having a really rough go of it. This teacher reached out and gave me a ring to say, hey, your child really struggled today. What can we do to help? The if we could focus on the positive, if we could focus on what worked, and if we could problem solve as a community, where could this school year go? What could we do to affect change in our little microcosm, in our little world, instead of we gotta wear masks? Oh my goodness, so much in COVID. I knew it was gonna happen. Now there's no school. We're remote learning. Why couldn't they have kept their child?
Right. You're right. You're absolutely right. And that is bound to happen. And how many parents wish that, especially parents who have a child with special needs, when you're sitting in an IEP meeting and all you're hearing is your child can't do this and your child can't do this and your child didn't do this and your child negative, 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 longs to hear something positive.
Right. Definitely.
We need, and we all do. We all want to yeah, we're all going through a mess in our country right now and around the world in a lot of places, not everywhere, but there are, like you said, there are little things that are positive that are happening as well. I mean, not that now there's this thing called toxic positivity, which I had never heard of. And it's basically, and I'm not diminishing, but I'm just trying to give Fran a quick understanding of what this is, and anyone who's listening that hasn't heard this yet.
I'm writing it down.
It's always trying to look at the positive and not acknowledging the negative and not feeling the negative and just being, oh, so, now, of course I can't think of an example, but, everybody's always wanted lots and lots of time to do things, and now we have it. So everybody should be learning new skills and doing new things. Okay. Maybe not. Because for some people, this isolation, this social distancing, is very mentally draining on them, and they don't have the energy to learn a new skill. or build whatever it was, or bake, or learn whatever. And so there was a couple other examples of yeah, it's raining and it's been raining for 20 days, but don't worry, the sun's going to come out eventually. It's that don't look at the negative at all, only look at the positives. Even
Okay,
if,
I see that. Yeah.
So we need to have a balance, because we do need to feel the negatives. We do need to acknowledge that there are negatives. I mean,
And I
I
struggle with that,
have
I
a friend who
know.
calls, and I have a friend who calls herself polypositive pants, and she's having a hard time throughout the COVID stuff. She's like, I'm having a hard time finding the good in being, finding a positive thing that has happened throughout the day and staying positive. And it's like, that's okay. You don't always have to be polypositive pants. You can be negative Nelly once in a while, and it's okay.
It's the balance.
Yeah, because you're not going to appreciate the good unless you've accepted and gone through the negative. You won't know that it's good until you've experienced the bad. So, I mean, I think of that biblically too. I mean, how many times did really bad things happen in the Bible, and then all of a sudden God just made it better, and it was, not that people wanted to go through that, but because they had it so good for so long, they were starting to grumble about, well, I don't have this, and I don't have this, and I don't have this. And then something really bad happened, and then they were like, oh, wait, no, I want what I used to have. I don't need any more than that. I've realized that that's good enough.
You appreciate your blessings.
Yeah. Yep. But you
The
get spoiled
things.
if you don't have any negatives. And I know that sounds weird, but it really is true.
No,
I mean, that's how the brain works.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think I really gave you any answers. I hope I gave you some, good suggestions and ideas, to kind of be like, okay, that's a path to start on. It's not a tidal wave. It's not gonna take care of everything all at once.
Yeah,
and I think.
Go ahead.
Did you write down patience?
I actually wrote down respect, because that's what we spoke on in the beginning.
Yep.
With respect, we can have open communication.
Yes.
And with patience, change can happen, but we have to be patient. Yes. And there has to be positive, but you can't have toxic positivity.
Right.
But
can't be positive.
But we can choose to focus. Yes, we can have the negative, but we can choose to focus on the positive, especially on social media and relating with our kids. And then the last thing I wrote, I'm turning my paper. I have little squares, so and the last thing I wrote is balance. That's my takeaway from it. Those are the words. Those are my takeaway.
That's
awesome. Balance. There's a balance in anything.
Yeah.
There's right. And I know for me personally, the balance is I just have to start my day trusting God, leaning into Him, seeking His will, and praying. But even the balance of just what is my focus? That's the balance.
Yep.
Not meaning what is my positive focus, but what is just the focus in the moment. Right. Like right now with you, if my focus weren't here, if I weren't listening with not only just my ears and my whole being, I would probably already be thinking about the rest of the things that need to get done for the rest of the week. I have to lead praise and worship this week in church. There's like,
Wow, good for you.
but,
Yeah.
but God is
We're gonna have to
good.
come back to that because that's not
Yeah,
what was
God is
happening.
good. He does amazing things. His plans are not our plans.
Amen. Yeah, it's very true.
But we have to be in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But then we
Yes.
also have to balance, because if you and I were to continue having such a heavy conversation and continue it and let it keep going, I would be burnout. You would be burnout. And I don't think we would come away with anything but ugh, because my brain would be dead.
Yep.
But now I came away with respect, patience, positive, and balance.
Yeah. And the balance, like you said, it's so key in every area of life. I mean, even, you can be hyper healthy or you can be really unhealthy, but there's a good balance in between. You can, be the kind of person who has 1,000 friends, but not really have one good friend. I mean, there's, and for your mental health too, you have to have that balance of, I do have to feel some negatives sometimes, but I don't want to be stuck in negatives all the time. I do have to acknowledge positives, but I can't be positive all the time either. So there's balance in everything.
It's like balancing a pencil.
Yeah.
Which I can't do, so we're just gonna hold it. But it was the concept.
It was. We got it. Yeah, we understood what you were trying to do there. It was a good
like,
object
it's not
lesson
gonna happen, so
that
I'm
just
gonna
didn't
hold
work.
it.
Yeah. Well, I think we've had a good chat here today. Is there? And I think your takeaways and telling everybody else your takeaways has been beautiful, and I thank you for those and for that. Is there anything else before I wrap this up?
No, except I just say I challenge everybody to take from this point forward and just think of it as a new season, a new start. And what can you do with this new season?
Yeah, that's excellent.
And that's a challenge to myself as well.
Yeah. How can we make the world better for all? Because we do it one person at a time.
One IEP at a time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if we're going to go with that, yeah, if we're going to do my total business, but yeah, I mean, I really do feel that we make the world better for all one person at a time. In my specific business, I'm making the world better for all one IEP at a time. And so again, thank you, Fran, for joining me. Thank you for all of you that have joined and will watch the replay, for sticking with me during freezing and driving in the non-major parts of Michigan as the computer did what it was doing. And I so much appreciate my guest, Fran, and join us next Friday. And I don't know if we're going to do, are we going to do the cup next Friday?
I was kind of thinking about that one. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're not going to tell you anymore. That's all we're going to tell you for next Friday is we're going to do something called the cup. And you're going to have to tune in to see what that's about and how that came to be. On Tuesday of this coming week, I will be talking to, and the hashtag No Limits, Lisa. She is an entrepreneur, a fellow master IEP coach. She works in the corporate world, and she's legally blind. She was born with no retina, I think. So, and she's definitely not allowed limits to stop her from moving forward and being extremely productive in her life. And so, again, thank you all. Have a wonderful day and a week, and we hope to see you soon.